electronic invention I want you to receive. Or I have a wonderful electronic invention I want you to see. It looks something like this.
Welcome to the Vapers Report. I'm Anthony Rumella. Here at the Vapers Report, we provide you with the news you want to know, reviews you can really use, and interviews with experts and idiots. We'll keep our head in the clouds and our finger on the pulse. If you enjoy our show, please subscribe and hit that like button below. Thanks for watching. This week's top story, jumping on the bandwagon. Here in the U.S., many states have banned vaping in one form or another. In most states, smoking has been banned because the research shows that secondhand smoke causes cancer. So why throw vaping into the same category? All the research I find says that secondhand vapor is basically harmless. I believe that most states have done this out of ignorance or apathy. To prove my point, here's a list of states that have a ban on vaping in one form or another. Now, the other thing I don't understand are all the cities that are trying to impose laws to ban flavored vape products. The lawmakers believe that flavors will encourage underage users to want to try it. But if flavoring a product encourages kids to want to try it, then why is anything that's not for kids allowed to be flavored? For as long as I can remember, liquor has been flavored, but I was taught as a child that drinking alcohol was for adults. Many medicines are also flavored, but I was taught as a child that medicine was only to be taken when I'm sick. Do lawmakers really think that banning flavors will reduce the number of underage nicotine users, or will it drive rebellious teens to go back to regular cigarettes? Passing laws to protect rebellious teenagers usually backfires and only makes them want it more. A perfect example of this are the parental advisory stickers on music. This move only increased album sales. The ignorance about vaping is staggering. Only about 13% of U.S. adults understand that vaping is healthier than smoking. This means that 87% of adults believe that vaping is as dangerous or more dangerous than smoking. As part of the 13%, I would encourage you to spread the word because in this case, what you don't know can hurt you. Now, I'm an old school kind of guy, and I'm craving an oldie but a goodie. So that means it must be time for Megan to tell us about the juice of the week.
Well, Anthony, this week I want to be bad, and no one does bad like Bad Drip. Bad Blood is a hardcore blend of blueberry and pomegranate with a light vanilla kick. This classic blend of flavors never goes out of style. To get this bloody juice, check out the bloody links below. And now for someone who has his own sense of style, back to you, Anthony.
Thanks, Megan. In other vaping news, lowering levels and raising risks. In a new proposal, the FDA is considering a reduction in nicotine levels in cigarettes and vape liquid to what they call non-addictive levels. The FDA claims that lowering nicotine to a minimal or non-addictive level could potentially save millions of lives in the near and both long terms. The biggest problem with this action is that reducing nicotine levels in cigarettes will only cause smokers to smoke more, increasing the probability of disease from other components in cigarettes. In the case of vape liquid, it will require vapors to hit their device more often, increasing the amount of liquid they go through, and in turn requiring them to spend more money on juice. Consumer Advocates for a Smoke-Free Alternatives Association is a tobacco harm reduction organization, and they do not generally take a position on regulations of combustible products. However, since CASA also represents current smokers who may in the future choose to use tobacco harm reduction products, they submitted a comment to the FDA because they are concerned about the unintended consequences of dramatically reducing nicotine levels in combustible cigarettes, and how that may actually harm smokers instead of reducing their risks. Another big concern is that they may increase black market sales of nicotine. I know I don't want to have to meet some shady guy in a parking lot to get my nicotine fix, and I'm sure I'm not alone. The FDA has a forum available where you can share your opinion, and I would encourage you to take a minute and have your voice heard. And now it's time for a product review, so that means sending it to our resident product guru, Megan Perrault. Megan, what's up for review this week?
Well, Anthony, this week we have a device that is tried and true. It's a Disruptor by Innokin. The Disruptor is a device that many of you have probably seen, but never knew how awesome it really is. The Disruptor is a 75-watt device that is a great match with most mouth-to-lung and smaller sub-ohm tanks. It offers wattage and temperature control options and a very respectable battery life. But here's where things get interesting. Many of you like internal battery devices because they're simple. And then there are those of you who like external battery devices because you don't want to have to wait for your mod to charge. The Disruptor is best of both worlds. It uses an internal style battery that can be removed by simply sliding it off. This means you can have the convenience of plug-in charging with the option of having extra batteries you can slide on. Vapers e-cigarette shops have been using the Disruptor on their tasting bar for several years, and they still work great. For those of you that enjoy a cool, classic mod, the Disruptor is for you. And to pick up this one-of-a-kind device, check out the links below. And now, back to the studio.
Thanks, Megan. Get a Disruptor and great e-liquid flavors from Vapers1.com. Sorry for the shameless plug, but good looks and plaid will only get you so far. At the Vapers Report, we want to provide you with knowledge you can use. With this in mind, it's time for Rumellas Rant. In this week's rant, we'll be discussing feeding intolerance. Recently, I met a woman who wanted some e-liquids without nicotine because her HR manager told her to just quit for a week so she could pass her nicotine drug test. My first thought was for HR to ask this woman to give up nicotine was like asking someone to give up caffeine for a week. In a recent study performed by drugs.com, they listed the side effects of caffeine and nicotine use. The side effects were grouped into two main lists, more common and less common. In the case of nicotine, more common side effects were nausea and sore throat, and in the case of caffeine, the more common side effect was feeding intolerance. But when it comes to less common side effects, that's where things get interesting. When it comes to nicotine, the less common side effects are blurred vision, dizziness, headache, nervousness, and a pounding in the ears. Okay, not great, but also not horrible. When we look at caffeine, it's a different story. The list of less common side effects is quite long, as you can see here, but a few of these really stand out, like a burning feeling in the stomach, blood in the stool and urine, vomiting blood and material that looks like coffee grounds, and if that wasn't bad enough, it even listed that caffeine could lead to a coma. Now some of you may be asking, so what? The reason I bring this up is because all the anti-vaping advocates want to ban vaping because they don't want kids to become addicted to a substance that is harmful. In the research I have done, I would say that caffeine has a much greater potential for harm than nicotine, and there are no laws in place restricting caffeine use. If I had a choice between my kid having dizziness or bloody vomit, which do you think I would choose? And in the case of vaping versus smoking, I choose tasty clouds over cancer. My advice is, wake up and pay attention. Your life depends on it. Here at the Vapers Report, we want you to make the switch, and we are dedicated to helping people make better choices. So tune in next week for more great news at the same vape time, same vape channel. I'm Anthony Rumella. Thank you, and good night.
Well, I have a wonderful electronic invention I want you to see. It looks something like this.